Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a get ready with me. I have run into approximately 79 different technical difficulties, and then when I finally sat down to film the video, I forgot to wet my beauty sponge. So I think I'm finally ready to film today's video. I'm going to be using a lot of older products, but I'm going to incorporate a couple of new products because I was planning on testing them out anyways today, so I thought I might as well test them out on camera. And then at the end of this video, I'll come back and do a wear test and show you guys how the products wore throughout the day. So I do have a new primer that I'm excited to try. It's kind of like a skincare product primer all-in-one. It's from Farsali and it is their new liquid powder. I'm going to apply it where I get the most oily, but it says massage into your skin until fully absorbed. So I'm going to work it into my skin. My skin gets really red when I rub products in, so do not be alarmed. It's just my skin. It's just really sensitive. Like when I press on my skin anywhere, it just gets really red. And my hands get red if I exercise that morning and I'm like using my hands, or if it's really cold or really hot. Sometimes I get comments on YouTube that are like, oh, I think your hair dye stained your hands. And I'm like, no, just my sensitive skin. Okay, now that it's fully absorbed, it definitely left my skin with like a super soft matte finish. It doesn't feel like I applied a serum. It feels like I applied a really light mattifying primer, and it does kind of feel like I have like a light translucent powder on my skin, nothing too heavy. So it'll be interesting to see how foundation applies on top. It will also be interesting to see if it leaves my skin matte throughout the day, because even though I've been dealing with a little bit of dryness, my skin does get pretty oily, especially like around the center of my face. So I'm going to stick with my staple go-to foundation because I know how this performs, so I'll be able to see if the primer makes a difference. This is just the Fenty Pro Filter Soft Matte Longwear Foundation. I have two shades. I have 140 and 150. I mainly wear 140, but I just mix in a little bit of 150. And I'm just going to stipple it into my skin like I normally would. This is a true full coverage foundation. I filmed a video not too long ago on my favorite foundations for oily skin. This one is a long wearing full coverage matte foundation. I just find that it stays in place really well, and I'm not going to be home until later tonight because I have a few things going on today. So I figured I would go for this one. And again, it's just my go-to. I know how it performs, so I like testing it with new primers. I have a new concealer I'll be testing too. I guess, to be honest, I don't reach for mattifying primers too often because I think a lot of mattifying primers almost make my skin look dry, and then the foundation doesn't apply evenly. But this foundation is going on well. So I picked up the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer the other day and I did wear it, and I felt like it looked okay. It looked a lot more natural on my skin than the original Camo Concealer, which is very matte and a little bit more drying, a lot more drying. But by the end of the day, it just didn't look that great on my skin. It definitely didn't hold up all day, and right around this area where I have a lot of large pores, it really enhanced those. It broke down on me and it was just looking very textured and it didn't look great. So I thought that I might combine them and see how they work together. I have the regular Camo Concealer in the shade Light Sand. Mine looks rough because my pug got a hold of this one, but Light Sand is a little bit too light for me, and then Light Beige is a little bit too dark for me. But I think the formulas combined might actually be really nice because a lot of people find the original Camo Concealer to be a little bit too drying, and I think that this one might be not too hydrating, but maybe not as long wearing as I would like it to be. I already know that I applied too much because I always apply too much product when I'm talking and applying makeup at the same time because I'm not really focusing, but that's okay. So I just wanted to try them out together. I think if you have dry skin and you do prefer a little bit more of a comfortable or natural feeling concealer, you might like the Hydrating Camo Concealer. But these two combined together feel really nice. Like this side blended out very easily, and I kind of like how they look on the skin. So to set everything into place, I just used the Urban Decay Velvetizer, which is just a translucent mix-in medium. But for some reason, it works so well to lock my concealer into place all day long. So I've been using it for years for that purpose. So I like how they applied together a lot better because I think the Hydrating Camo Concealer helps the original Camo Concealer to blend out really well. But I do think it looks pretty dry on my skin. I think it's that Farsali serum. That really did mattify my skin, which can be good later on. I'm sure I'll appreciate it later in the day. This is the Too Faced Peach Perfect powder. I'm just going to apply it with a damp sponge. I've been doing that instead of using a brush lately because I just think a damp sponge tends to apply powder in more of a natural way. It just helps you press the powder into the skin really well, so it doesn't leave your skin looking as powdery, if that makes sense. I just applied the Hourglass Arch Brow Volumizing Fiber Gel, and I'm going to let that dry for a second. So let me fill in my brows using the Urban Decay Brow Blade. It has two sides. It has a pencil side and then also an ink stain side. I'm going to use the pencil side, and then I will go in with the other side as well. So when I first got this pencil, I wasn't actually using the pencil side very often. I would just use the ink stain side, and then I think it was when I was filming my project pan last year, I put this in my project pan because I'd almost used up the ink stain side and I hadn't really used the pencil side. So I started using the pencil side and I fell in love with the formula. It's just like a very pigmented pencil, so it doesn't take a lot of work. You can use a really light hand and fill in your brow pretty quickly. The only thing is that it doesn't have a spoolie because it is a dual-ended pencil, so I usually have to grab one from another pencil just laying around. So I usually just kind of fill them in a little bit messy. I try not to be too perfect with it because the other side really perfects them. This side makes such a difference. I honestly feel like it kind of gives you a microbladed look, and I don't know how to explain it other than the fact that it makes a difference. So that's what my brow looks like before, and then let me just fast forward through this part. And that's what it looks like afterwards. I feel like I could clean it up a little bit more, like I could go in and define the bottom a little bit more, but usually I do that after I do my eyes, if I do my eyes after my brows. But for the most part, that's what it looks like. If you don't like a bold brow, this probably isn't going to be ideal for you, or you could go in with a lighter hand, but I just think it kind of like fills in those sparse areas, and in person, it looks a little bit more hair-like than it does if I just use a pencil. And then I think I'm going to leave them alone for now. So I'm going to go in with the Dominique Cosmetics Latte 2 palette. I also got this in my Trend Mood box, and this is really beautiful. So I've only swatched it. It comes with 6 different shadows. There are a bunch of neutrals, a couple of colorful tones over on this side, but I think we're going to focus on the neutral shades. So I'm going to take the shade Cafe Con Leche and just use that all over the lid. I did set everything into place with that Urban Decay Velvetizer, but I always like to kick off my eyeshadow look with a matte shadow. I think I'm going to take the shade Blonde Roast, which I normally wouldn't use in more of like a toned down neutral look, but I do want to see how these colorful shades apply. I am going to go in with a pretty light hand and just like lightly build it up because I don't want a full-on yellow eyeshadow look. I just kind of want to see how it performs. I know a lot of you guys said you were interested in this palette. I believe it's live on January 24th. Which is either like the day that I'm uploading this or the day after. And it's going to be available on her website. I don't know if it's coming to Sephora or not. This shadow blended out nicely. It's pretty bright, but I think I'll probably cover up the majority of that with the brown shadows. I've been dealing with a little bit of dryness on this eyelid in particular. I was trying out a new eye cream from Pharmacy, which I was really liking, but then I woke up this morning and my eyelid was kind of dry. I always get dry eyelids in the winter time, just randomly. Like they'll be perfectly fine for a month and then all of a sudden they're just dry again. So I'm going to take the Sigma E25 brush and go into one of the brown shades and just kind of work that in the outer corner and then up into the crease. I feel like I needed a shade in between the yellow and this shade to kind of work as like a crease color because these two are very, very different. There's no medium brown in the palette, and I just need something to kind of transition between those two shades because it's just such a stark contrast. So I'm going to use this e.l.f. Bite Size Eyeshadow. This one is in Truffles. I wore these the other day for the first time, and I was so impressed by them. They actually wore so well throughout the day, you guys. By the end of the day, my eyeshadow still looked perfect. These shadows blend out so easily. I'm honestly so impressed by these bite-sized eyeshadows. So if you guys have been thinking about them, I think you'll enjoy them. They're just easy to work with. Okay, that's a lot better. Ideally, I would have went in with this shadow first and then applied the dark brown in the outer corner, but I feel like they blended together pretty easily. I'm just going to go back in with a little bit of that deeper brown from the Dominique Cosmetics palette and really work that into the outer corner and just build it up a little bit. My battery's about to die, so I'm just going to do the same thing on this side, change my battery, and I will be right back. Okay, so I think I'm going to take the shade Drizzle. I'm just going to take it on my ring finger and place that all over the lid. This is beautiful. I love a good gold eyeshadow. They look so pretty on the eyes. So I'm just going to pat this all over the lid, and then I'll blend out the edges so it doesn't look so harsh, but let me just apply it to the other eye too. I'm just going to go back in with the brush that I used for my crease and lightly blend everything. I kind of blended that metallic shadow up into the crease a little bit, which I don't mind. A lot of people don't like to use metallics in their crease, and I don't think I normally would like actually place a metallic in my crease, but sometimes if I'm wearing a metallic over the lid, I'll kind of blend it up slightly. And I just think they look really pretty. I'm just going to take the lightest shade from the palette and lightly blend that onto my brow bone and just kind of blend these shades together. I kind of want to just take a little bit more of that yellow shade and just like lightly hit that area and bring some of that warmth back because I think the majority of it got covered up with the brown shadow. So I'm going to do winged liner. I have such a hard time doing it on camera and I'll be right back. I'm actually going to take the brown eyeshadow from the e.l.f. quad that I used in my crease and use that on the lower lash line. Just going to blend it out a little bit. And then I'm going to take my favorite Urban Decay 24/7 Glide On Eye Pencil in the shade Scorch and just apply this to my waterline. I'm also going to apply some on the lower lash line. I love this color so much because it kind of has like a golden bronzy hue. And then I'm just going to smudge that color out as well. I'm just going to apply my CoverGirl Exhibitionist Mascara and I'll be right back. All right, let's wrap this up. So I'm going to apply my cheek products. First, I'm going to go in with a little bit of concealer and just cover that freckle on my nose. That's just what I like to do when I'm doing more of a full coverage look. So I let it dry and then I just go over it with a little bit of powder to blend it in. I'm going to take my favorite bronzer from the Balm and just apply that. Actually, I need a fluffier brush. Okay, I'm just going to apply that to my cheeks. I just love this bronzer so much. I think that I've finally resolved to quit trying so many new ones because nothing in 2019 compared to this one, not even some of my older ones. For blush, I'm just going to apply a little bit of this Hourglass blush. This one is in the shade Brilliant Nude, which was one of my go-to blushes in 2019. I don't know if I talked about it on my channel a whole lot, but I just feel like it goes with everything. This one and Buxom's Dolly. Buxom's Dolly has like a little bit more of a pinky hint to it, and this one has more of like a true nude. So I feel like when I'm doing more of a warm toned look, I reach for this one. And then when I'm doing a cooler look or something that pink complements, I reach for Buxom's Dolly. And then I'm just going to take my Hourglass powder in Diffused Light and blend over everything to make sure there are no harsh lines and everything is just very seamless and even. So I got these highlighters in the mail from Kaleidos, I think a few months ago, and I've been testing them out. I haven't used this one. This one is in Solar Sailor. So it looks white in the pan, but when you swatch it, it has like a gorgeous, so when you swatch it, sorry, my camera died in the middle of swatching it. It has a really pretty, like golden hint to it. I want to say almost like golden green. I don't know, it's really pretty. So I'm going to wear that today. Just going to apply this right here. I'm also going to put this on the inner corner. I almost feel like my skin looks too matte. Like it actually looks dry. And even though, you know, I envy those of you that don't have super oily skin, I don't really want my skin to look dry. Like I just want it to look in between. But we'll see how it looks in a few hours because it could even out. So I think I'm just going to wear one of my ColourPop Just the Tint lip balms. This one is in the shade Z Boys, which is one of my favorites. But first I am going to line my lips. I'm just going to use my ColourPop lippy pencil in the shade BFF. And then I'm just going to take my Just a Tint lip balm and apply this on top. I wasn't really feeling that lip combo today, so I took it off. We're going to start over. I'm going to use the shade Little One. This is still a ColourPop lippy pencil. So I'm going to use my Fenty Gloss Bomb in the shade Hot Chocolate, which is one of my favorites. This was part of the holiday set, but I actually saw on Instagram they're coming out with it in a full-size version, which is awesome. Okay, so this is the final look. I think everything applied really nicely. I love the e.l.f. shadows. I love the Dominique Cosmetics shadows. The only thing that I'm concerned about is the Farsali serum. I feel like it really mattified my skin. I don't know if I've ever tried a more mattifying product, but we'll see how it wears throughout the day because I could change my mind by the end of the night. I just feel like it's almost too matte. Like you can see all of my texture. I feel like my wrinkles are more obvious. Like I'm just looking at my forehead wrinkles. What else did I test out? Oh, the concealers. I think the concealers went on nicely. They look really smooth on this side. This side they look okay, but it's also like I got mascara right there. So that was my own fault, but they look pretty good. I will check back in with you guys at the end of the night and I'll let you know how everything wore. Okay guys, it is the end of the night. It is 10:56. I'm getting ready to wash my face and I'm on the season finale of the first season of You, so I'm ready to watch it and then go to bed. But I've had my makeup on, I think I got done applying it around 1 p.m. It was a little bit of a later start today, and I don't think I did an official check-in, but I've had it on for around 10 hours. Honestly, I think it held up pretty well. Okay, let's start with the first thing. So I did try the new Farsali Liquid Powder. I do think that this made my skin look super matte. Like it was the most matte that my skin has ever looked. And when I first applied it until about like hour 3 or 4, I wasn't the biggest fan of how my skin looked, but it is winter. My skin has been a little bit dry and I did use a mattifying foundation, a mattifying powder. So I feel like if I was to wear this in the summertime or wear it with more of a hydrating foundation, I would be really happy with how it does keep my skin matte throughout the day. I did blot my skin once today, but that's pretty good for me because usually I have to do it a couple of times if I'm wearing my makeup for like 10+ hours. So I do think I like this product. I just don't think that I would combine it with so many mattifying products. So I'm going to try this out with one of my more hydrating foundations and see how it wears with that because it could be the perfect balance. So I think I like it. I just don't think that I recommend wearing it with a bunch of mattifying products on top. And if you have dry skin or normal skin, I really don't think you would like this because it looked like it sucked all of the moisture out of my skin. But I feel like it could be promising. So I'm going to test it out a few more times and then I'll update you guys in my January favorites. It might not be considered a favorite or a fail, but that's the next video that's on my list where I'll be able to give you guys an update on how it's working. Okay, so next I have the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer. Today I did wear it with the original Camo Concealer because I wore it alone yesterday. I wasn't a big fan of how my skin looked at this point yesterday. I felt like it was separating, it was really enhancing pores. Today, because I did combine it with the original Camo Concealer, it stayed in place so much better. And my skin looked pretty matte throughout the day, but I think it was due to that primer. So overall, I think it wore really well when I mixed in a little bit of the original Camo Concealer. If you have normal skin or dry skin, I do think you will enjoy wearing this one on its own. If you have oily skin or really large pores that you don't want to enhance, I would probably skip over this one. But if you have the original Camo Concealer and you like it, you like the fact that it has really good coverage and it's long wearing, but it's a little bit too matte for you, then I think that combining them together does work very nicely. Even if you purchase these two products together, that's $12 and that's still a lot more affordable than some of the high-end concealers. So as for eyeshadow, I have to say that I really like these e.l.f. Bite Size Eyeshadows. I only used one shade today, but they just perform well. They wear well throughout the day. And the fact that they're $3 is crazy to me because they're just as good, if not better, than a lot of my favorite eyeshadow formulas. They're very creamy, very blendable, and just easy to work with. So I think e.l.f. nailed this formula. I would love to try one of the colorful quads. I think they have a green one or a pink one that looks really appealing, but I'm excited about these. I think they're going to be staples for me. As for the Latte 2 palette by Dominique Cosmetics, I think the shadows performed well. They blended out really easily onto my eyes. They're rich and pigmented, like even the light shades have good pigment to them. So they were great as like highlights and blending shadows. I will say that the three colorful shades are pretty lackluster. I thought they were going to be a little bit more vibrant, but that could be good depending on how you feel about these colorful tones. I think if you're buying this palette, you're probably a big neutral eyeshadow fan. So you're not buying it for the yellow, the pink, and the green. So the fact that they are a little bit more subtle could actually be ideal. And I think they're easy to work with. I wore the shade Blonde Roast like in the crease and it doesn't look like I'm wearing like a full-on yellow eyeshadow. If you go in with a light hand, you just get like a little bit of warmth. You could get the same effect with Strawberry Milk and that would look pretty like in the crease and then with this shade all over the lid. The green one I probably won't reach for as often and that one was probably like the most subtle in terms of like the colorful shades. But again, I'm okay with it. I kind of wish it was just like a true neutral palette because I do think people appreciate neutrals as well. But I think it's a pretty palette. If you love Dominique Cosmetics eyeshadow formula, you'll really enjoy this. If you have staple neutral palettes in your collection, I don't think you need to run out and buy it. I mean, it's like, I want to say a $42 palette, and I know not everybody has $42 to spend on a palette. If you do like the formula, I think you will love this palette. It's beautifully packaged. The colors are pretty, but I'm not going to say it's a must-have because I'm sure a lot of us have colors similar to this. There was one more product. This is the Kaleidos Solar Sailor Highlighter. I think that this looked really pretty on the cheeks. We were actually driving in the car and like the sun was coming through, so I just looked in the mirror at my makeup and the highlighter looked so pretty. It definitely had a lot of glitter in it, but it was like very soft, fine glitter. It wasn't like a chunky, intense, glittery highlight, and it just looked so pretty on my skin. I do think it had a tendency to enhance texture a little bit, but again, I think it was partly due to the primer. So It kind of faded a lot at this point, but I think it looked pretty. I also think it looks pretty as like an inner corner highlight. So even if you took this and placed it as like the finishing touch on your eyeshadow, and I think it could be used in a couple of different ways. They do have other shades as well, but I would say that I'm a fan of this one. Like a couple of their other shades are more unique colors. I think there's like a green, maybe a purpley blue. This color is pretty because it is a golden tone, but I mean, again, you can use it in different ways. Now I really like how it looks on the eyes. But that is it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I had a lot of fun filming today's video for you, chatting with you about the products. If you want me to test out anything else, let me know in the comment section below and I can include those products on my channel. But I hope you guys have a great rest of your night and I'll see you very soon with a new video. Bye.